out there.
What a fun little group.
Thank you for joining us.
It's the
We're
quietest. It's the
We're
quietest
just going to
entry
let
sequence.
everybody log
Yeah,
on
I was
here.
like,
The faces speak for themselves. You know what's fun? If everybody switches on their cameras, we look like the Brady Bunch.
Yeah, you get the matrix.
nice. I'm Jan.
I wish I was in the middle that can do like this and then
We all know the most important person was Alice.
Funny.
No camera here. That's okay.
All right, so we'll wait maybe one more minute to get started. Looks like we have about
no camera means
27.
this person is in the Partridge Family, not in the Brady Bunch.
Right.
Yes, Garen, I know my classics.
Okay, well, I think we'll go ahead and get started. First, I want to welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us this evening. I'm Rick Abramson, city architect, and I manage the urban design and architecture studio for the city of West Hollywood. This is going to be now our third community meeting for the San Vicente Streetscape Plaza project. For those of you who are joining for the first time, a little bit of background. Initially, staff brought forward to the City Council an item to explore creating a streetscape plaza space along San Vicente. This was done for several reasons, one of which is that we had heard repeated concerns about the high speed of traffic on San Vicente. Another is that there are regular closures of up to 20 to 30 events per year, where this street does get shut down, but it's done in a way that isn't let's call it a designed manner, and that there's a lot of exposure to the sun. On the asphalt, it gets very hot. And so I think the intent was to create a space that would be a true civic gathering space for the city, that would have protection, shade, traffic calming, and some other goals that are larger goals with respect to the environment and climate, et cetera. And so through this process, we've heard a lot of really great feedback and input, and our design team has looked at it carefully, and tonight wants to present to you the results of what they heard in the previous meeting. This started out initially with an in-person meeting in West Hollywood Park, where there was a number of initial thoughts and gathering ideas. The last meeting was the first concept, and tonight's meeting will be sort of the final version, and there's still room for adjustments before we bring it back to the council and show them the results of this process. So we really appreciate you taking the time this evening. One other aspect I did want to mention, because I think last time there were a number of comments about the cost of the project, and part of the council's direction to us was that they wanted us to look at funding opportunities and grants and other ways to fund the project. So that effort is going on simultaneous with this. But tonight we really are looking for feedback and comments related to the design itself, and is the team on a good track? Are there parts that are still missing that need to be considered? And so I think we're hoping to get your thoughts on that. So at the end of the presentation this evening, we've set aside a time to have a sort of focused discussion on some of the parts that are working, and then anything else we need to understand better. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Savina Romanos from Melk, our terrific design consultant team, to introduce the Melk team and hear more about how the project has progressed since you last saw it. So Savina, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you for being here as well, everyone. Again, hopefully there's even some new faces so we can expand this forum and group of community authors, actually, who are also helping refine our concept for this concept development stage. Just as Rick mentioned, today is indeed our third check-in in this effort of community authorship, which we value very highly. We hope that you'll see today from the feedback from our previous interactions, the 2 outreach events that were mentioned, and how all of that content, all those anecdotes, those questions that we received from you has now translated into a concept refinement for the San Vicente Streetscape project. Jerry, if you don't mind to just flash the Zoom etiquette page. And I will make introductions in a moment. So if you haven't previously attended an event, Jerry is going to give a recap of where we are, but just a little bit of etiquette for the Zoom room. We are going to make a very brief presentation that is going to sort of recap this, this effort to date, both feedback and advancements or refinements. In the meantime, it'll be about 15 minutes or so, so just please keep the microphone muted. And then after, we're going to open it up for a discussion. We hope a very healthy, live, vibrant discussion, for which please raise your hand if you'd like to ask a question live, or use the chat box, of course. On the line today is myself. My name is Savina Romanos. I'm the Associate Director of Melk, along with my amazing designers, colleagues, Allison Chekowitz-Hayes and Marielle Latz. And Jerry, our principal and founder of Melk, is going to present the advancement of our ideas. And just to sort of refresh perhaps or reorient, start with the project brief and our directive from the city. Thank you so much.
That's right. So starting with the directive and basically dovetailing into the introduction that Rick just gave, right? It was really the city coming forward with an idea, coming forward to us with the directive, which was literally, and I'll read the whole thing: create a space that is temporary, yet flexible and transformable seasonally and situationally. If carefully crafted as a streetscape plaza, this bookended and protected area could operate as a programmatic extension of West Hollywood Park, a useful companion to the Stories Theater Monument, or an independent civic or public space itself. Centrally located within the city's west side, San Vicente Streetscape Plaza is well buffered from a sound standpoint from nearby residentially zoned areas, yet still walkable and in close enough proximity from the diversely scaled neighborhoods that surround it. Just to orient ourselves and everybody, once again, we're talking about this stretch here of San Vicente, between Santa Monica Boulevard and Melrose. Not the whole stretch, but this area, this part of San Vicente is already closed off for ad hoc events, in a very, let's say, improvised, non-designed manner, like Rick mentioned, for about 20 plus days of the year already. And, you know, our directive, maybe everybody.
I'm sorry, Jerry. Can we have Brad and the phone number 323 ending in 9751? Please mute.
That's what they do. Build houses.
Brad, please mute. We hear you, or
Yeah.
maybe the host can mute.
Yeah, there's not much to see when you look up the house except
Okay.
I saw the phone.
Allison, are you able to mute people?
Oh.
There we go.
Okay.
Thanks.
Anyway, this improvised manner of closing off the street, we are taking the ad hoc aspect of it and structure it, organize it, and design it into a condition that works as a safer everyday road. There is a growing amount of accidents even happening because it's such a almost a highway, right? So, and this is what we don't want, as well as when needed, a flexible civic events plaza. Every great city in the world and also in the country has a central, call it town square, a central plaza where everybody comes together, events are organized here, and this is very much different than a park, right? It's very much associated with hardscape and maximum flexibility to constantly take on a different identity tailored to the events that are being hosted here. And for cities of the density of West Hollywood, it's kind of a sort of missed opportunity that in the planning of the city such space was never provided. So this is kind of, let's say, taken on board by ourselves, the design team, and with that notion of creating like a really central town square type of plaza for West Hollywood. We embarked on this project. This is our canvas, let's say. So it's not the entire block, but it's pretty much like roughly from the library all the way to the sheriff station, let's say, right in between several important open spaces, the West Hollywood Park, the PDC Plaza, and there's also the upcoming Stories, the Ace Monument, and we see an opportunity to also create a sort of cohesion and unity between all those spaces, and hopefully in a few minutes you'll see that and you'll agree with us. When we embarked on this project, we identified 3 key design drivers. One is traffic calming and safety, number 1, right? The profile of San Vicente Boulevard today somehow invites people to, let's say, into this, it's being basically considered as a car-centric stretch, right? And we are absolutely focused on changing that and also dedicating it to cyclists, pedestrians, etc. And traffic calming measure number 1 is create a street table, aka a shared street situation with a special paving, absolutely a median to separate the 2 directions of travel, clearly defined bike lanes, and additional pedestrian safety where possible. Key design driver number 2 is create microclimate. Today we have 4 trees on San Vicente. Absolutely not enough, right, to create a sort of like green, lush, shaded environment. So we absolutely already in the beginning recognized the opportunity to add street trees to the project, and with that addressing the fact that in this area, except for the park, of course, in West Hollywood, it's pretty much a tree desert, let's say, and we see an opportunity to, even for this project, or even if this project becomes, let's say, the instigator for such a scenario, to restore the local ecology, like literally restore the local ecology, even before there was any sort of settlement. So imagine that we plant a lot of trees in addition to the existing 4, right? And tree canopies plus other plants create a habitat, and with the habitat comes a biodiversity, and that leads to, let's say, restoring the ecology. There's actually a scientific name for it. It's called regenerative ecology. Absolutely on board of our design toolkit. In contradiction to that almost is the fact that our directive is to create a gathering space, an event space, let's say, for which you need, for maximum flexibility, a sort of empty user space, right, in the center. So how do we balance the shade created by trees, restoring the ecology, with the fact that this wants to be a flexible event space? Well, we early on already came up with the idea to have this median, the vegetated median, and there's even trees in the median, occur in movable elements. Yes, literally movable median elements, planters on rails that can be moved towards the south and north end of this stretch, bookending this event space. And at the same time, having these movable median planters function as, let's say, the barriers, the bollards, let's say, to create a safe space. And this, having done so much research on the history of the place, was a nod to Sherman, which was the original name of West Hollywood. So West Hollywood, or so Sherman, I mean, this area used to be, let's say, a railway hub, right? And with these planters on rail, these median elements on rails that can be moved to position where the area needs to be cleared out, we thought that would be like a beautiful homage and reference to the site's history. So with this already, let's say, in the books, we went out in October of last year to meet a lot of you and a lot of your friends in the park adjacent to the project site, and testing our initial ideas, asking for how this would resonate with them if we made such moves. And also, let's say, asking for, what kind of form would this project have then? So we had a sort of activity, a form finding activity, which was about elements and about the feel, the vibe of the place that people would gravitate towards. And we had quite a large database coming off this. So we tallied up the elements and the style, let's say, and we arrived to this bar chart. And this bar chart, so these are the elements with most of the votes, yeah? We translated that into this word cloud. And you can already see that what really started to resonate with the community was a tree canopy, absolutely missing right now. Architectural shade even, maybe that's playful, or artful, right? Maybe doing something with creative lighting at night, creating a real destination, wildlife habitat, awe-inspiring, right? So this was given to us by you guys, by the community, and with the image exercise that we did, these were the images that had most votes, with the largest images having the most votes, etc., going down, right? So a tree canopy, number one. Number two was the architectural shade, so some sort of like iconically designed element that maybe is overgrown with green, or can be lit up at night. And somehow we had just sort of, if we squint our eyes, have to be able to recognize a form for this project then, right? So this led to the first ideas that we developed and presented in December, so 2 months later. with basically the juxtaposition of green on top of architectural shade structures. So we create the habitat, we soften so to say the overall feel of the space. We create the possibility to catch rainwater, to store it in those structure and use it for irrigation of the project and maybe even beyond. And at the same time create the possibility, especially with this planters moving to the two bookend sites, the possibility for events being hosted over there. So this was presented, and we received response. Thank you very much. We received supportive comments, critical comments, questions, etc. And we actually recorded all those remarks and questions and categorized these into these categories, right? Design, microclimate, operation and maintenance, questions about sustainability, safety, programming, and engineering. For example, about the design, we had a lot of enthusiastic reactions. The design was regarded as inviting and complementary to the AIDS monument. In fact, I believe that's come from the Friends of the AIDS monument itself. The fact that these canopy structures will further compress the space and encourage traffic to slow. Probably not scientifically proven, but yes. Canopies feel heavy. Can texture be added? Yes, absolutely. We took a step at that. Remark about water fountains for drinking. Microclimate, overwhelming support for even more trees in the sidewalk, perhaps. Appreciation for the median forest, which was the vegetated median elements that could be moved into position close off the street, and shade. So we, in addition to the 4 existing trees, we actually added about 18 street trees and these green median elements. But what is better than 18 street trees? 80 street trees, yes. So and in fact, instead of 2 cloud elements, for lack of a better words, with these plants and trees on top, we actually arrived to 3 of those structures to really, maximize the shade. And this shape here, the way that they're positioned and designed, are actually to maximize the shade. And these animations will actually show that. So I can literally, this is spring equinox, so this is in March. Slide through the hours of the day. So this is noon, 1 p.m., 2 p.m., etc. Right. So you see that shade is really, everywhere on San Vicente. And then we go to the summer version of that. You can see also here. Oops. The shade moving during the day. So I'm going to, let's say, 2 p.m., like the hottest moment of the day in June, the summer solstice, and a significant, almost like full coverage of shade. So that's quite an improvement from that original idea scheme. So with that, we, like I said, have an impact on the restorative ecology aspect of the project. In fact, there's over a quarter acre of pure ecology that we can bring back to the place with indigenous, habitats and vegetation, versus what we of course also tried out, more traditional temporary shade structure with tensile sales and everything, which would deliver, to be honest, quite a bit of problems, not just operationally. These things have to be hoisted in and out all the time, but also it would also cast shade, permanent shade on the trees and especially the median, which is not a good and optimal situation. So we really think this is like a permanent solution is the way to go. And if in addition to that we can enhance the ecology, plus create microclimate, plus capture stormwater and store it in those elements for further use. We all know that LA is suffering from drought, right? We think that we're sort of nailing it on the head. Operations and maintenance, there were questions, how is elevated green maintained? Well, that's simple. That's with cherry pickers. We don't want these to be like accessible for the general public, because that sort of defeats the point of restoring the ecology. And vertical surfaces attract graffiti. Yes, that's true. Like light posts will do, and walls and everything. And we know how to deal with that, of course, removing it or creating, let's say, repellent surfaces. Regarding the sustainability, water and ecology aspects were received as positive, and everybody just was talking about more green. And just to give you an idea, it's not just about green, but also about the restoring the ecology. And led by my colleague Allison, our team took a stab at what kind of, let's say, species, indigenous, local species that were here in this region before there were people, let's say, to, let's say, reintroduce those on those structures. And what that does is, that habitat will attract also wildlife, right? Of species that were basically pushed out of the neighborhood, let's say. So we think this is a very important, move, which goes way beyond the symbolic. This will actually, work. Regarding safety, are the pillars a traffic hazard? So we really optimize the locations of the legs of those cloud structures, let's say. We focus on the pedestrian vehicular safety. Even in this conceptual stage of the project, are rails safe with regard to pedestrians and cyclists? Yes, of course. They won't occur in the bike lane nor in the sidewalks. Are bollards a bicycle hazard? Well, you'll see also that we, relocated those. Programming, how often is it programmed? Well, currently it's like between 20 and 30 times a year. So we anticipate approximately, the same frequency of closure, but now, of course, embedded in the design of the project. What are the crowd sizes? Well, from small, food truck roundups or presentations to like large crowds to, the service area can host somewhere between like 2,000 and 2,500 maximum, right? So would a farmer's market make sense here was one of the questions. Yes, absolutely. In fact, here you go. We did a few test fits of program. So this represents a large farmer's market or some sort of like special event around that theme, whereby it's necessary to close off the entire stretch. But, think of a food truck festival or food truck roundup of some sort, right? That can be hosted here. Or perhaps a big pride event, very appropriate also in this area, to be hosted here on San Vicente. And we can go on. Maybe some sort of performance can occur here, or presentation, a gala or an awards ceremony of some sort, right? This project is like suitable for all sorts of events of different scales. a smaller presentation or protest can, according we feel, easily occur with the traffic lanes, for example, the eastern lane still open for traffic, not just only northbound, but perhaps with some additional measures, even like say north and southbound. And in that same situation, we can think of, for example, a weekend flea market or something where only half of the street is used. And then during the everyday, most days of the year, of course, it's just a wonderful poetic moment in the otherwise quite monotonous experience of the streets of Los Angeles. So let's say regarding engineering, how the median planters move. Well, we have already some initial ideas on that, but on rails, right? Are the proposed elements crash-proof? Hopefully. Are the proposed elements seismic-proof? Yes, of course. That's all structural engineering. And how do the canopies function as cisterns? Well, the water can be stored in the structures itself, or actually be just funneled to a central cistern adjacent to the street. The ample possibilities for that. Yeah. So and then let's walk or drive or cycle through the updated situation, I would say. So as you see here, there's much more green in the project right now, with this, it's actually over a quarter acre of restored ecology up in the sky, which is visible from everywhere, also from ground level, also from top, from drone level, let's say, of course, but it's really visible from everywhere. This perforated pattern, of course, we haven't developed that yet, but imagine that there's also a nighttime quality to this project, right? And so this is driving north, coming from Melrose, let's say, going up to Santa Monica, with the PDC Park Plaza on your right, on the east side of the project, and over on the west side is the AIDS Monument and the park. You see here the cars subdivided by this lane divided, but it's all, let's say, on one level right now, and with a unit paver, not asphalt. So everything we are able to do to reduce the heat island effect for this space. Celebrating multi-mobilities, let's say multiple mobilities, including bicycles and of course pedestrians. This is driving north to south, which on your right now, on the west side of the project, the stories, the AIDS Monument, and this building here is the library. Then right in front of the library, looking north again, you can see, this quite spectacular framed views, constantly changing. Here is driving north to south with the entrance of the park on the right side, which is really marked by these structures and by the Streetscape Plaza right now. And once again, how impressive it is to drive underneath. So different views of the project. This is actually a view from the PDC site. Let's say if you're on that plaza, you see sort of the skyline, the green skyline of the Streetscape Plaza. These are amazing views, I think, from the park that demonstrate the fact that this project really, binds that fragmented condition of the multiple spaces together. This is a view from the library platform, and this is when we actually, look at drone footage, of course. But this really demonstrates, how much heat island is combated and taken away by these green ecological structures. So seen from straight above from the top, and then the same view when it's transformed into, let's say, this temporary event space condition. Yeah, so one of my favorite views, again, how everything gets bound together by vegetation, by green. You see here the planters moved in their, let's say, bookend positions, with over here in the north and south the possibility to turn around, of course, because we don't want like the block to be closed off all the way between Melrose and Santa Monica, but only the stretch where we want to be able to host certain events at certain times of the year. This is one example, right? So using the stories, the Ace Monument stage, let's say, for telling a story, listening to whatever sentiment wants to be shared with the community, or protest, or even like small other like performances. You can, imagine all sorts of events of many different scales here. Other views of another type of event with a market or some sort of performance. And then a few views lastly of the project only closed off on the west side. So with, in this case, the northbound traffic still being able to use the San Vicente stretch. Again, the northbound traffic is able to keep driving on it. And this is an example of north and south, albeit one lane, of course, open. So there's multiple possibilities to deal with the transformability of this project. And then, of course, back to the everyday situation where hopefully you all agree with what we're trying to achieve here, which is like quite a unique and spectacular, almost a story that is about history and the the indigenous land itself, right? For this project. Summarizing, so we started with our directive, which is to create a safe street and a gathering space for these temporary closures. I think we succeeded in that, but that it's much more important for us to create extra value, right, from these notions, let's say. And we think as a design team we did that. We integrated the public outreach feedback we've received so far, and this forum is not closed yet. We wanted to make this project of the place, so unique to West Hollywood. So with reference to Sherman, with references to with the integrated rails, let's say, with references to the fact that this is a sustainable project that needs to address drought in order to create a lush environment that is basically a restored ecology of the past that brings back wildlife to the project, etc., gluing and creating a sort of cohesive situation with the fragmented other adjacent spaces, creating a microclimate, so sort of comfort and shade. There you go, regenerative ecology, you talked about that, and the biodiversity and wildlife. Dealing with a sustainable water harvesting. Actually, our office has done a lot of projects in arid climate, so we have a lot of, let's say, engineered best practice knowledge of sustainable water harvesting. In this case, capturing the water in these funnel structures, kind of, right, and storing it on site is probably the way to go for us. And then altogether combat the heat island. And for the ones who are not entirely familiar with that term, it's about shade and more shade. Of course, we'll focus on full accessibility and an inclusive space, which is kind of to say the definition of creating a successful civic public space, of course. And like I already said, enhanced experiences, not just for cars, actually, for cars, albeit a bit slower. It's also nice to drive underneath a shaded situation and look around, but also create the opportunity for a safe situations for cyclists, and as well, of course, totally focus on pedestrians. And that way we think we can create the town square for WeHo, for West Hollywood, with an important notion of that everybody knows the town square has a clock tower, let's say. We also have a marker, which is in the form of these elevated cloud structures with these, that local ecology with the vegetation on top, let's say, which is, quite unique. And then altogether, creating a memorable place that hopefully everybody, recognizes and as a space, and that can in and of itself become synonymous with WeHo. And that's it. Savina, back to you.
Yeah, so we hope that this view in the kitchen has resonated with you. And even maybe you can, in fact, identify all the ingredients that we're cooking with, that they've come from yourselves and the other community members. And that this concept we've meticulously taken into consideration and addressed all that has been raised in question to date. But as Jerry said, that the forum is not closed yet. So we want to open up the floor again for comment. But in order to carefully track your ideas and feedback and to progress and move forward, it would be really helpful, we think, as an initial conversation, to raise your remarks or your comments or your questions within the context of these categories, so that we can, which are basically all the seen and unforeseen added values that we've uncovered together in this process, and that way we can sort of not filter, but make this sort of matrix of remarks based on these values and what we're gaining from this project. So please let us know. I'm already starting to take inventory. Let us know your questions and also what requires more consideration and what has really resonated with you today in these ideas refinements. So hands, let's do hands. Lynn, you can unmute and ask your remark. Lynn Hoopen-Garner.
Hi, thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you, Jerry and team. You really listened to us. You really listened to us.
And we will continue to do so.
Love the addition of more trees. Love the movement out of the center of the street of the pillars, opening up the solidness of the containers so that you bring in the opportunity for lighting and break up the mass of that solid white. Just about everything that you've done took on almost all of our conversations. The only question I have is about those bollards along the bicycle path. Are they retractable? So in the event of an event, that they're not in the way of the flow of the crowd?
Yeah.
And B, anybody who lives in this town has seen bollards Not the least of which is the ones that are on Westmount, just north of the Trader Joe's, that are basically a crumpled mass of recyclable metal. I see these as not lasting very long. All it takes is one driver to wiggle a little bit and you've knocked out a couple of these, and every, once a week, and then you've just got chaos.
Yes.
I'm not sure what the alternative is, but it's just an observation.
I tell you what the alternative is to pick a really good product. And first of all, we think that for many of the events that may be hosted here, these bollards can remain. The other thing about picking a good product, we have experience working with recycled, so for lack of a better word, and I also don't know the exact word, let's say flexible recycled rubber bollards. Those are existing products. So, if you hit it with the car, you don't have damage necessarily on your car. If you hit it with your bike, there are some gifts, so you don't go into accidents immediately. So there's that's a special product, and there's like many brands that carry that. Those in order to remove those, you basically screw them out, right? So you rotate them and they come out. Alternatively, there's also all sorts of retractable bollards, which are a lot more expensive, which we usually only apply in certain areas where, for example, you want to be able to still drive through at certain moments. But anyway, that's if you're interested, I can ask one of my colleagues to pull up a sheet that shows those products.
No, it's just an observation. If you've got a good solution, yay team. My only other comment was, really, poison oak as one of your planting materials?
Yes.
If I could answer that.
This is Allison. Allison is our ecology specialist.
Yeah. I mean, we're really inspired by the oak woodlands. We heard so much about tree canopy from you all, and so this being such a quintessential California and Southern California landscape, it really felt to fit the bill. And poison oak is a natural part of that community, so we felt like it was a good starting point.
I appreciate it entirely. I'm thinking of the people that have to maintain this. And God forbid, in a storm, a chunk of it falls off into the street and someone picks it up. It's just, it's part of an urban design. I just don't see it as, it could have all the berries in the world for the bees and the birds, but it just doesn't seem like a practical thing to use in this space. But otherwise, it looks lovely. Thank you.
That's fair.
Thanks for your comment.
I'm going to go in the order that I see it. So I see Elon H. Meyer from the Williams Institute.
Yeah, well, I'm here as not representing an institute. I live in the neighborhood in Norma Triangle. I have a question. I haven't been involved in earlier meetings, but so my question is a little bit maybe too late, but I have a question about the need for this project where it is suggested here. And assuming that there's a good answer to that, being that there's so many competing areas in West Hollywood that could use more greenery, I don't understand why we need this right across from a park that's already there and there's so much development there. But assuming that there is an answer to that and that somebody figured that this is the place where this has to come to, I feel like the design is so busy and competing with the different elements that are already located in this very corner. So you have the design center on one side, you have the library and the park on the other side, and you have the new Melrose Path walk, a walkthrough or whatever they're calling it, the new garden on Melrose across the street from that. And now we're adding this very busy, it is beautiful, but very busy competing element to what are already there, literally across the street on 3 sides of this new design. So I find it a little bit too much if it was going to come in this particular location. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think you addressed all of your considerations, I think, already in the presentation. But Rick, I don't know if you want to like add to that.
No, I think let's just hear more comments and feedback, and
yeah,
Okay.
I think that's great.
Everything is being recorded, both live and in the chat. The next hand, Mark Lehman, if there's more than one. Mark, unmute if you're there.
Yeah, here we go. I'm sorry, I was muted. Hey,
Thank
Mark
you.
Lehman here. Thank you again for this. It's really exciting to see sort of the evolution of this. And I live about 3 blocks from this site. And, you know, at the end of the day, what I see is this has just become an expanded gathering space. Really something that'll attract people to the park, to the library, to the AIDS monument, to the PDC, plaza itself, and also attract people maybe down from Santa Monica Boulevard. I love it. I really do. One of my practical questions, and this is, perfect because we've got the Oscars this weekend, is, both on both sides, both the PDC and the park are sometimes used for these massive high-end events that require trucks and machinery and all that. So just want to make sure that the design will allow for those kind of trucks and machinery to access the space they need to. Some of the layouts you showed seem to show that it would, especially on the PDC side. But I just wanted to make sure that was a consideration. The second thing that I really wanted to just mention is, and I see you have it here, didn't hear you talk about it, but the seating I think is going to be really important too. I see you've got these little elements shown on the sort of off the sidewalk, and I don't know if those are, your final designs, but really designing some comfortable and accessible seating. We also have a lot of seniors in town, they'll want to sit. Yeah, I'll want to sit. So those are my 2 thoughts.
Well, thank you. Great for your support. And yeah, I like to emphasize that this is, of course, a design concept, right? So if we are successful in securing this for further development into a real project, which as you'll recognize is going to be quite a unique place. All these practical and programmatic considerations are going to be taken on board then, including how to deal with bollards and how to do with parking of surface vehicles, picking the right type of furniture, where do we place it? Right now in our sort of like high level toolkit, we have furniture, we have bike racks, we have even a bicycle service station placed in this project that appeared on one of those visualizations. But all for further development in hopefully in the next round.
Also, there's tree grates, because with the addition of our new street trees, we want to make sure that there's a clean surface for everyone to walk. So there's a whole toolkit, as Jerry was mentioning. The next person, I see Phoenix with a hand.
Hello. I am also joining this process, probably 2 meetings too late, but we just found out about it like a week ago. So I
Fine.
have
Hey.
a thought or two. It's cool. I love what you guys are doing. And I have a couple things to add if they're helpful, but you guys can
Yeah.
just reach us if
Go
they
ahead.
are. I'm on the board of the US World's Fair up at the federal level, and we've got requests and approvals to bring federal grant funding to the city for different types of projects to prep the city for the Olympics. So
Nice.
this is something that could potentially, if modified and approved by local city council, we could probably help support with
You
on
mean like
technology.
putting Olympic circles everywhere?
Ha, no. I'll just come out with a stamp at 3 a.m. just stamp it everywhere. Specifically, there's like a $3 billion grant fund from HUD to make sure that different elements of the city are upgraded with public spaces before a lot of people start coming to the city.
Well, that's
Especially
fantastic.
to help with like, yeah, there's a lot of qualifications though. But we're here to help try to make sure that they meet them, right?
Mhm.
So that's our local role on the board here. So some of the other projects we've seen and been discussing with other cities and departments in the county have been looking at elevated spaces, like sky forests, elevated town squares, things that could be like a secondary level with trees up there, but also kind of like in those early photos that you were showing, really cool designs, like kind of like Munich in West Hollywood, or it's like a area to come for like your food carts, your cafes, your entertainment areas, your protests, your rallies, your fun, and like little shops all around, but it is elevated. So it's kind of what is designed here, but it'd be more of like a square in the sky. You know what I mean? That's might not what have been originally requested, but if that is a conceptual option, then from the engineering and the funding standpoint, we could probably help approve it on our side because it would fall within the scope of what we're looking for. So that is just a offhanded, out of nowhere comment, but I don't want to throw you off, but just letting you know there is support for items for the city if they are requested.
Interesting to really, understand where this interest, let's say, in elevated public spaces come from.
Well, I can go into that for you for 7 hours, but that might be another.
Okay,
another
well, maybe we save that till next time then.
Yeah, but Phoenix, if you
Totally.
leave your contact in the chat, that would be great because we'd like to hear more about what's planned. So we'd love to follow up
Of
with you.
course.
That'd be great. Thanks so much.
Thanks. I'll drop it in now. Thanks, guys.
Perfect.
And if not, could be maybe for another project. This project is really about greening the space with events occurring underneath it. But
Sure.
like I said,
The mandates for all of LA County. So wherever it's requested, we are supposed to look and see if we can help.
nice.
Thank you, Phoenix. Okay, I'm gonna look for your, there you are. I'm gonna look for your contact information. I've been mining the chat for comments and questions, and so I think we should go through the questions. So Toby Ann Cronin, very important question, which I think is not is good to not have overlooked or to mention to everyone. How high are the raised tree beds? Do they block the views of the magnificent buildings, red, green, and blue? Are the pillars skateboard proof? Jerry, do you want to address the clearance heights, or we have a minimum of 20 feet, an
Yeah.
average, an
Yes.
average of 20 feet, and then a minimum always of 15 feet, which is what any typical roadway will require.
Actually, our minimum is 20 feet, Sabina.
Yeah.
Our
Oh,
lowest
the
point-
minimum
our lowest point, we designed this project to have the lowest point
at 20.
at 20 feet.
Okay. But okay, then it's clear. The pillars skateboard proof, not sure what that means, but nothing vertical, I think really would ever be skateboarded on. I think that no different than, as we mentioned before, like a light pole or any other vertical element or column in a typical streetscape. They wouldn't be skateboardable. Mark, I'm not sure if you wanted us to. Oh, Mark mentioned his question already live. And then RG iPhone was asking about the projected cost, and also what is the material of the perforated surface. I'm assuming that is of the canopies, the perforated surface of the cloud that we've been using
Actually,
as a placeholder.
You know, I can address that real quick. You know, we've done several projects, not on this scale and not so fantastic with the you know, regenerative ecology element to it, but you know, we are quite well versed in the design of double curved metal structures. So right now the project is conceived in sort of like a similar fabrication technique, with perforations that could you know, light up during the night, right? So, and as you can see, this is a very sturdy structural principle with no beams or columns inside. It completely functions as an eggshell. The scientific word for that, or technical term, is monocoque structure. So, you know, that's basically how so far we're seeing the design of these structures as well. This project that I just showed is in San Francisco, seismic area. Hope that answers the question.
The
Yes,
next
that does.
question.
Thank you.
Oh, great. Eric had asked about the slopes, the apparent lots of steep slopes. How did the soil stay put atop those structures, and how could high winds rip those trees away? On a very cursory level, there's plenty of products that none of these slopes, by the way, exceed the appropriate slopes that are necessary to make this feasible.
No.
And there are products in any event, different jutes and things like that can keep things and stabilize soil, as well as anchor the trees. We are very familiar with these details and products.
We do a lot of roof deck designs. Many of them, most of them, have trees on top of that, you know, and that's basically how we on a technical level treating the planting of those trees as well. So they're anchored to basically what they're planted in. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Next question. I think maybe perhaps this was missed. MJ asked about in addition to the architectural green canopy, will there be trees planted in the ground to create natural canopy? Yes, we talked about all these quote unquote streetscape or parkway trees that will be added. We've added, I think, twice as many as the last presentation had. So we looked for opportunities there as well. Another question. Oh, the question about the planters. Are the planters that move, the median planters, are those skateboard proof? That was the question.
Oh, okay. Well, you know, yes, of course, when they're in their median position, it would be very unlikely that that skateboarders would actually mingle into the vehicular traffic. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it applies when they're, you know, placed in position, bookending the event space. Let me see if I can pull up a image real fast. I mean, having two skateboarders as children, I know that these guys can basically skateboard anywhere. The combination of the unit paving and perhaps even rails would definitely, you know, not discourage that. But still, if it's really necessary to place skate deterrents on these elements, so we would definitely be able to do so.
Okay, Brad is asking, I'm not sure if you're referring to the structures, the architectural structures. What would the surface look like? It looks slick and plastic, but of course not. What's the material? Are we talking about the canopies? It's a steel.
Yeah, I think I just addressed
Yeah.
the example.
The question came up only a minute ago, so.
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it looks like a slick material that could be easily cleaned. But would it be able to be that, if it's made out of concrete, how is it able to be that slick looking? Concrete would be very difficult to clean unless you had painted it with epoxy paint.
Yeah, so just again as an example, these are made, these blue objects that you see that are also illuminated blue are made of steel.
Oh, these
are made of steel.
I was looking at the white ones.
These would also be made out of steel, so coated with a marine grade coating.
Which ones are you proposing? Just
the white ones are being proposed for this project. The blue ones are an example of how they can be, that we show that they've been built with the same fabrication techniques.
The blue ones are built and they are in San Francisco.
Oh, I'm sorry. I had to go take care of my partner. Okay.
That's great.
I was this one has a bulge in the bottom that looks like it could hold water, but I'm sure you'd be able to pump that out, or it's probably something anyway. We don't want a pool up there. Or unless you're putting in aquatic plants. I like the pavement on the street. It's sort of simple, I think originally we were going to have maybe a terrazzo, or they were talking about, but this looks, is this something that you're proposing here? This is sort of an idea of how to, it's interesting, but it's not overdone.
Yep, this is, yep.
Kind of the idea.
Different shades of gray and.
Yeah, with unit paving.
Oh, and the bollards, do they have lights on top? Did you answer that question?
I saw that question. Right now they're reflectors, because the lights would drive up the cost. Reflectors are really all that's necessary right now for safety.
They're reflective. Okay. I thought they were iron also. They're rubber, you say? Okay. I just like that they're very black.
Yeah.
They're very retreat into the background, sort of. They don't stick out. And also on the bike racks, you have corners on the corner. They're rectangular shape. So I would say maybe rounded might be better, or for the design purpose, does this look better? Maybe. I like that they're black also. I guess match the bollards.
For the moment, we just picked something super simple. We didn't want anything overdone or custom or anything like that.
It would hurt more if you hit that though, and then if you hit a rounded, talking about. But for the difference, I don't know if it makes that much difference.
Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah, I like all the green. I love the trees being down, more trees on the surface level also. That's really nice. It does, like another comment was that it softens the whole area, and I really love that. Yeah.
Awesome.
That's great.
Awesome.
That's all.
Thank you. Okay. In terms of questions, that is all
Sabina, it
We
looks
have
like there's another
carefully-
hand raised.
Oh,
Michael
I'm
Green.
sorry. I abandoned the hands. I apologize. Michael, I apologize.
No
So I
problem.
see a 323. Oh, no, Michael, go ahead, because you're already
Oh.
muted, please.
Okay. Is there any way to make the paving surface permeable?
Yes, it is permeable, in fact.
Oh, it is. Okay. I
Yes.
didn't realize that. And then an earlier question I didn't hear the answer to was about the
Mhm.
cost
Mhm.
and about the upkeep and the maintenance.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I think on the cost, it's really going to depend on which elements end up in the final design. So I think we've been tracking along the way, but I think we're going to take the comments tonight and then sort of look at that. But as we said at the beginning, we're looking to get a lot of funding for this from grants and other programs for greening infrastructure and wildlife habitats and combating heat island. And there's a lot of things that this project is doing that would qualify it for funding. This is what a lot of the organizations and government agencies want to see cities doing. So this not only reflects so many of the climate and environment goals of the city of West Hollywood, but really where a lot of the outside funding is coming from. So that's something we're going to be really aggressively looking at.
Mhm.
So in the design that we're all looking at now tonight, do you have a projected cost as is?
No, we haven't done like a line item itemized takeoff to where we could say an exact number at this point. No.
And then in terms of if the grants come in, I assume West Hollywood is going to be responsible for the upkeep and maintenance of all the plantings and everything else around the space. Do you have any
Yes.
idea what that would cost the city?
Well, that's something our Facilities and Field Services division is going to look at. They're the ones who take care of all the street trees already, so that would be part of their normal work. And then the elevated habitat, again, depending on the plantings, a lot of it is native materials. So, we're hoping it's not going to be a high maintenance type of garden, but certainly any planted areas will need maintenance. But this is not meant to be, sort of a formal garden that needs daily attention, because it's meant to be more of a natural habitat, something you would have found in nature that wouldn't have been maintained. So, but not to suggest that it's zero maintenance, but it's low maintenance.
I think the density and the lushness of these illustrations make me think that there is going to be a significant amount of maintenance. In terms of the park next door, which had some native plants put in, a lot of them look pretty horrible, and it's not even been a full year. And there's not, the maintenance hasn't been either successful or enough to make it look as good as it could or should.
Yeah, and I agree. I think plantings and trees that are in a park and in and around regular activity take a little bit different care than something like this. But you can imagine there's huge segments of Griffith Park that look like this, what's elevated, that are not maintained. They're wild habitats. And I think that's what the goal of this elevated portion would be, is it's meant to be for migrating birds and other wildlife that would normally have been found here, in the wild, so to speak. So again, it does require some maintenance, but if it's properly set up, it is a lower maintenance strategy.
And when would we find out about the costs?
We would plan to bring a final design to the city council. That will be part of the analysis. So it'll probably be over the next couple months. We're projecting probably roughly May at this point, May or June, depending on when we can get some answers on some of the funding, but roughly in that time frame. And at that point, we'll do a full analysis with projected costs as well.
I just want to say I appreciate that you want this to be low maintenance and you want it to be wild and natural, but in something so dense and so special and so public, I wonder if a little bit more money and attention needs to go to the upkeep and maintenance, especially at the beginning.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, well said. And it absolutely, we'd be foolish not to accept the fact that it needs to be maintained to do what it needs to do. So yeah, we don't disagree at all. That's a big part of it. But to clarify, maybe for some of those who joined late, the elevated portions are not to be occupied by people. It's a wildlife habitat, it's like a sanctuary that's elevated. So that's why we're saying it's a lower maintenance type of space.
I also want to add that the goal for June or the presentation is not a final design, but a final concept, a scheme. The idea from there is to move forward, from our point of view, professionally speaking, to further stages of design development, where O&M, detailing, I'm seeing comments about, things like rust and water damage and things like that. All of those things professionally, we would take on, with our experience and our tips and our tools for the best practices to further refine and develop the concept and the scheme that we are sharing. I saw the phone number 323 ending in 9751. Your hands up?
Yes, I
Okay.
just have to say, I'm so sorry what your name is, but I've been on hold for an hour and 8 minutes. I was the beginning of the message where you said, can you please unmute myself? And I believe it was Michael. I have another meeting that I wanted to call into that now it's 20 minutes in. Can you be cognizant of that? That I want to make a comment and I'm one of the last ones. I just wanted to know what happened.
That's not the intention at all. But the format of the meeting was a presentation and then an open discussion. The presentation
Right,
was
but I was
and
the
there was-
first and you said, please mute. You said mute, whoever's this. And then no one really, I just want to say, just be aware of that.
Okay.
Because people have follow-ups and I just wanted, so I'm just a little perturbed. So
I'm
let me just
sorry
make
about
my
that.
comments.
Please
please
let us
be
know your
aware of-
comment. And also, this was an
Yeah.
hour and a half format, so we just wanted to front end the presentation and leave more
Right,
time
the
for
presentation was
remarks.
50 minutes. 50
Okay.
minutes.
Do you want to
So,
mention the comment now?
Yes, I just
Thanks.
do. I have a couple of comments.
Okay.
I want to know what the cost of the overall construction and development, because I have concerns because, as you know, that's a highly dense area. From Santa Monica to Melrose, it's a heavily foot trafficked area, but there are also several bus stops because, as you know, across the way is the Metro, that's their hub center, and then you have the Civic Design Center, and you have a lot of overflow from the Civic Design Center that actually take up what should be public space. And let me just say this, there are a lot of private events at the Pacific Design Center that kind of, caters to their own, whether it be people that are in production or people in the entertainment field or the designer field, but they have nothing to concern themselves when it is a public space. It is us first and foremost. People have to get to and from, commute by bus, have to walk from Santa Monica all the way to San Vicente and down onto Beverly Boulevard, or we just want to enjoy ourselves and meander through. But I just think that there's going to be a lot of people who don't care of giving pedestrians the right of way, whether it be aggressive drivers and people on motorized scooters, motorized bikes, skateboards is a real big problem. And they think that it's just a byway, that they can just cut through the park. You see it all the time. Then you have trash, and then you have, there are things where we, as you see with the rainstorms, there's runoff water. There could be a lot of debris. There could be things from Santa Monica. I just don't want it to be just an idyllic area where it's like, it's great for photo opportunities. I just want the residents, like myself, to go and enjoy without groups of people thinking it's our lunch space, or the Civic Design Center saying, you know what, we're having a VIP event. Let's call the city and just like the Elton John, event through the Academy Awards. I mean, takes up majority of West Hollywood Park. They shouldn't benefit indirectly for them saying, well, we want a photo op. We want this to be on Instagram, and we want it to be our private park. That's what would upset me, because that's what I see now. And I'm just a little baffled and concerned that that's going to be perpetuated. And I'm a little bit pissed, to be quite honest. And I just want to know if you've, considered these obstacles or these situations, because I don't want it to be a VIP area. I want it to be enjoyed by the public, but I don't want commuters and the homeless thinking we have access, and then those people on motorized bikes and scooters, and then those of us are left with no open space, with nowhere to sit, or enjoying, and without there being some kind of issue. Or why is this cut off today? Oh, we have construction issues. Oh, why's this? Oh, well, we have debris issues. Why is this? Oh, there's a VIP event. Do you get what I'm saying? I just want comments.
Mm-hmm.
And what the overall cost of the actual project will cost in city monies and state or local or county monies, and what's going to be grant through federal, or if there is any. So can you please answer those questions?
Well, I think I
Many
can jump
questions.
in. There was a lot of thoughts there. I think we already addressed the cost. That we'll bring that forward at the time it goes to council once there's a
Can
final
you just
design.
tell me if I missed it, what is the cost? Because I just want to get the estimate so I know.
Yes, you didn't miss it, because we are still finalizing the design, and it depends on what features are in it. So when we bring the final design forward, it'll have in the staff analysis projected costs and projected funding, and where we think some of the money will come from, because that's an important question. But it's just premature, because it's just a concept right now that's changing all the time based on the feedback we're hearing. But to your point about pedestrian safety, I think one of the big improvements here is by raising the road onto this shelf. It's going to slow the traffic. We're going to now have a new protection between the cars and the bikes and the pedestrians. And the pedestrians now, under this idea, if it were to go forward, be walking under a shaded promenade that is far better protected than what we have. I think your question about the e-bikes and the scooters and all that is a good one.
That's important.
That's an important one, although, as long as they're in the city, they can go anywhere in public space. So that's something that is not only an issue in this space, but it's a citywide question of, how best, to integrate them. But I would say that safety is a huge part of this undertaking, in addition to the shading of a public gathering space that we don't have right now in the city. And that's the intent of this. It isn't for private use. It's really for community use.
And I appreciate that when you made the point, because I'm really concerned. The e-bikes or the e-scooters, they're really more notorious. They are supposed to have a certain strip on the streets. They're not supposed to taking public right away on the sidewalks, because people are in wheelchairs, people are in strollers, people are walking, people are running. That's what we do, but we're forced or compelled to go in the streets, and so we have to get the honk horns. It's incessant. That's why I spoke to the city council, and I can't emphasize enough that the city is allowing not even the scooters in the city, which are 300, which I believe are far more, because you have those areas that fall into the city of LA, like Beverly Boulevard, City of LA line, La Cienega, City of LA line, Fairfax, Crescent Heights, City of LA line. We border, and they come in because they have these other streets, and they become e-waste. And I assure you, it will become e-waste, and I heard one of the developer or presenters say that, oh, we don't want a desert of this, we want tree canopies. Well, guess what? That's a moot point when you have litter on the ground and it's e-waste, and you have people who don't care, who are just trying to get a bus. That's what I'm saying, is that the commuters of people who are just coming in are just thinking, oh, it's just the area to have a break, or homeless who then has a mental breakdown who just so happens to be in the promenade. That's what I mean, is that you have to concentrate on the behaviors of these people. And I think someone did say, but you need to find them. You need to do citations. You need to have ambassadors there because they will abuse their privileges. So you have to be aware and cognizant of that.
Yeah, no, these are all important questions that go into
Thank you.
larger, how we make cities. So we hear you.
Thank you so
All
much.
right.
Thank
right.
you.
Any other hands, Sabina, that you see?
Yep, one more hand. RG?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you so much for waiting. Yeah.
Yeah, hi. I'm sorry about my kind of appearance, but I'm calling from my hospital bed.
Oh,
But
You're
anyway,
gorgeous.
thank you.
I hope
you
you
know,
get well soon.
I will. I think I will, but thanks. First of all, I am a designer. I've been a practicing architect for about 45 years. And so I'm speaking from that point of view. And I think this is a very interesting, thoughtful design, and you've dug down and come up with some interesting ideas. My feeling is that it's too much of something in the wrong place. And I noticed that a lot of the public space imagery that you showed was open to the sky space, whereas this is not open to the sky. And those public spaces were surrounded by hard edges of trees or buildings, and that define the space. And the other thing about this that kind of bothers me, is that the flow of space from the open space to this and open to the sky type of space from the park through to the plaza at the PDC is interrupted by this structure and this overhead. And it would seem to me that maybe the overhead structure is moved to the side to define the edges of this large public area open to the sky. And you do a lot of things to define that public square, but you try to emphasize the open space relationship from the park to the PDC, which may ultimately be a pathway all the way over to La Cienega if things change, things happen in the next 15 years. And it would be a walking path, from the Melrose Triangle all the way over to the La Cienega. The other thing is that I'm a little surprised you didn't take or consider the strategy of heavily planting the lower area of San Vicente and the upper area of San Vicente to create an overhead and help define the edges of the open square, with really large trees, with that in 30 years that have beautiful expanses of branches and so forth. And actually that kind of sense might slow down the cars on PDC or on San Vicente when they're driving normally every day, when they feel like they've entered a sense of enclosure. And it would extend the sense of the park all the way down to Melrose and all the way up to San Vicente.
Yeah.
And I think a strategy like that might be productive. And sometimes I just don't feel this is the right thing. But it's important to do studies like this to examine where it might go. So I'm not trying to say that this is wasted time. It's not wasted time. But my feeling is I would think broadly about other alternatives. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And RG, I don't know if that stands for something, but we have a lot of your comments also in the chat that we've recorded, and we are going to, take stock. I wanted to just highlight something very important that came to mind as you were speaking, which is I want to maybe underscore that this project, there are some, and we mentioned that in the last community outreach meeting. Perhaps what is so interesting is actually all the challenges that come out of what is an inherent contradiction, right? We have this place that has gravitas, a place that has a historically you know a gravitas for events and gathering, both impromptu and planned. Yet it's a street, a roadway, and yet it needs to remain flexible and open. So there's all these inherent contradictions, and everything that we've done to date has been driven by very functional elements or aspects, making sure there's shade, making sure that there's ultimate flexibility for events, making sure that this is first and foremost the safest possible stretch it can be. And so all of these things, all of these design moves have been informed by each of those, you know, drivers. So some of them which are inherently contradictory. So I wanted to mention with that there are a few comments throughout that picked up on that, and we've recorded them from the chat, and we'll have them as we move forward. So thank you, because that's going to help us further refine and galvanize and bolster the effort. So far, I've got everything in the chat. I'm going to go back to the participant list. I don't see any hands. And we are 3 minutes over, but I think we've done the cross section of both chat and participant list hands. Okay, Rick, Garen, should we close or?
No, this is great, Sabina. Thank you. This is perfect. So first, we really want to thank everybody that, really insightful comments tonight. And we've heard a lot of things that will have to be addressed going forward. We're aware that it's still, conceptual and something that to become real needs greater detail. And we'll be looking for direction from the City Council if they think we're going in the right direction. I think there's a lot to be determined, but just outlining next steps. I think the design team will take the comments tonight, make some additional refinements, and then, as I said, we'll start looking at scoping the project, looking at cost, looking at funding, looking at grant opportunities, et cetera. And we'll put together a staff report. So we'd encourage everybody to sort of keep an ear out that likely we will be moving forward to the council for more direction, either in May or June is our best guess at this point from a timing standpoint. And I think we'll go from there and see what makes sense at that point. But we really first want to thank all of you for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it. And thank you to the Milk team for really engaging the community process and really listening to a diverse range of thoughts and ideas. And we're excited to think about what this space could be for the city going forward. For those of you that want to stay in touch with the project, Garen Yallis is our city staff member. His email is on the screen right now, gyallis@weho.org. Garen is the architectural and urban designer for the city. And so please feel free to reach out to Garen if you have further questions. Also, this project has a website on the city's weho.org website that we will be updating, adding images and information as we go. That will be the place to also continue communicating to the public. But thank you all for taking the time tonight. And we look forward to the conversation continuing on the prospects of a project like this in the city. So thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. The website is in the chat, so you can actually track it and not have to write that down. Thank you for your time, everyone. Take care. Ali, I just